nothing but the truth.
Hello, I'm Raj Chengappa from India Today and your host for Nothing But the Truth. Every week, we will deal with key issues of concern and bring you perspectives and clarity as to why these matter to you and what is the clear truth that emerges. Imran Khan is in the eye of the storm once again. The ex-Prime Minister of Pakistan and its most famous former cricket captain has stirred up a political storm that has plunged the country into chaos. This is after several courts in the country issued non-bailable warrants for his arrest in a range of criminal cases. But the wily and charismatic Khan has resisted arrest on one pretext or the other, telling his supporters to come out and protest on the streets of major cities if he was arrested. With the Pakistan economy already tottering, the current political crisis has only pushed the country down the path to total collapse even faster. So in this episode of Nothing But the Truth, we will answer the 5 big questions that the situation raises. First, why is Pakistan on the brink of collapse again? Second, why has the economy gone into a free fall? Third, what is Imran Khan's game plan and what is the counter that the current coalition government headed by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, what is he doing about it? Fourth, will the Pakistan powerful army intervene and take over as it has happened in the past? And fifth, what do all these developments mean for India? So let's try and answer the first question. Why is Pakistan on the edge again? The current turmoil spawned by Imran Khan has a history, and I will be brief. Imran Khan had become Prime Minister of Pakistan in 2018 after his party, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf or PTI, won a slender majority in the parliament with the help of independents and outside support. Though Khan was seen as being a puppet of the army, the cricketer promised a Naya Pakistan that would provide jobs to the unemployed youth, houses for the poor, and fix the scourge of corruption. Initially, Khan and the army claimed that they were on the same page, and his supporters even referred to it as a hybrid government. But after a seemingly good beginning, Khan's reign began to turn chaotic, especially after COVID struck and the economy began to tank. Meanwhile, Khan suffered from delusions of grandeur and became alienated from many of his party members and coalition partners. Then Imran Khan made his biggest mistake, something many past prime ministers of Pakistan have done and paid a heavy price for it. Khan tried to tamper into the army's internal affairs by pushing his favorite generals to the helm. That's when the army struck back, and then Army Chief Qamar Javed Bajwa pulled the rug from under Khan's feet. Opposition parties then banded together, reportedly with the army's tacit support, and formed a coalition called the Pakistan Democratic Movement or PDM. The two main constituents of the PDM were the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz faction, or PMLN as it is known, that was headed by Shehbaz Sharif, and the other was the Pakistan's People Party, or PPP, chaired by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, the son of ex-President Asif Ali Zardari, and the late Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. PMLN's most charismatic leader, Nawaz Sharif, a former 3-time Prime Minister, had been sentenced by a court to serve a 10-year jail sentence on charges pushed through by Khan's government. He is currently in London, ostensibly for healthcare treatment, but really to avoid serving time in jail. These are the dramatis personae that would come together to turn the tables on Imran Khan. They did that by moving a no-confidence motion against him in Parliament and succeeded in ousting him in April 2022. Khan by then had served as Prime Minister for at least or a little less than 4 years. It was a constitutional coup that was backed fully by the Pakistan army. But the 70-year-old super-fit Khan refused to ride into the sunset. Instead, from day one, he took to the streets and used fiery anti-American rhetoric, charging the US with engineering his ouster. He also ran down the new government as a bunch of corrupt dynasts. To the surprise of many, Imran Khan began to draw large crowds wherever he went to speak. His popularity grew again, despite the clear material failures of his government, particularly on the economic front. Imran Khan began to shift the blame for the economic woes to the new government being ruled by Shehbaz Sharif. But let's be clear, Shehbaz Sharif is no rookie though. He had an outstanding stint as Chief Minister of Punjab, the most populous and powerful political province of Pakistan. He may lack the kind of charisma that his elder brother Nawaz Sharif had, but he was seen as a no-nonsense administrator with an ability to get things done. With the general election due in October, the new coalition government was aware that it had a very limited window to prove that they could handle the serious economic crisis. Apart from that, they had to take on the new political challenge posed by Imran Khan's unrelenting campaign against them. So that comes to our second big question. Why is the Pakistan economy tottering? Broadly, there are three major reasons. The first is mismanagement by the Imran Khan government. The second is the natural calamities that happened like COVID and the recent floods. And the third is an inability to address decade-old structural issues that have plagued the economy. The problem has been compounded, particularly the economic situation, by the initial hesitancy by the Sharif government to undertake drastic reform measures. This included raising taxes, particularly on fuel, which directly impact the common man and is seen as politically suicidal to do so. The result is that inflation in Pakistan is at a historic high. Food inflation is at 42% and fuel inflation at 39%. Now, just to give an example, on February, the prices of diesel was hiked by 17 rupees to cost currently at rupees 280 a litre, while petrol prices were increased to 272 rupees a litre, a hike of around 22 rupees. The Pakistan rupee at one point plunged to almost rupees 300 to the dollar from the average of rupees 200 to the dollar before it made a modest recovery recently. To compound the problem, the State Bank of Pakistan recently raised interest rates by an unprecedented 300 basis points to touch 20%. This move is likely to crush the formal sector of the economy and make it non-competitive. Exports have also declined steeply. As a result, Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves have fallen to just over $3.8 billion, sufficient for barely 1 month of imports instead of the standard 3 months that is usually done. Moody, the international rating agency, estimates that Pakistan's external financing needs is around $11 billion for the remainder of the fiscal year that ends in June 2023. The real problem with Pakistan's economy is structural, and this has been brewing for decades. Basically, Pakistan has been living beyond its means, and for decades, it has been consuming more dollars than it has been earning it. Its tax to GDP ratio is one of the lowest in the world. Worse, with the changed geopolitical situation, Pakistan is no more a key pivot, and as an expert put it, it cannot extract what he calls geopolitical rent from other countries and institutions as it did so in the past, especially with the International Monetary Fund or IMF and bilateral donors such as China and the Middle East, and these are not playing ball as they did before. Pakistan was sanctioned a bailout plan by the IMF of around $6 billion in 2019, but it failed to fulfill many of the conditions that the IMF imposed. The result was that several tranches got delayed. Now, even the IMF admits that the fiscal belt tightening that it is calling for could cause, and I quote this, social unrest, and I'm quoting IMF, fueled by increasing prices and shortages of essentials, rising inequality, inadequate healthcare, financial and social scars from the prolonged pandemic, and heavier household debt burdens could trigger political instability in Pakistan, cause capital outflows, higher unemployment, and slower economic growth. And this is the IMF statement. So, will the Pakistan economy go the way that Sri Lanka did? Experts are clear, they say it is unlikely, but it depends on what the Sharif government would do in the coming months to ensure that it doesn't happen and it doesn't fall into the trap that Sri Lanka did. International agencies should move in to help, but what Pakistan needs most is political stability rather than political brinkmanship of the kind that is currently being played out. Which brings us to the third big question. What is Imran Khan's game plan, and how is the coalition government headed by Shehbaz Sharif trying to thwart it? Imran Khan's game plan is clear. Given the massive support he is getting for his public rallies, he is pushing for an early general election. The PDM government, the ruling government, is against doing so for good reason. It knows that the harsh measures to set the economy right under the IMF bailout will create a wave of anger and cut down its political capital significantly. It desperately needs time to put the economy back on track. Imran Khan knows that, and so he is using other pressure tactics to achieve his goal of having an early general election. He forced his allied governments in the provinces of Punjab and KPK to dissolve their respective assemblies in order to force elections at the federal government level. Punjab itself, mind you, makes up more than 51% of the total seats of the National Assembly or Parliament. The two provinces, Punjab and KPK, constitute almost 68% of the total seats, and the provincial elections, if held, would be like the semi-final of the general election. If there is a wave in Khan's favor and he wins both the provinces that are going to polls, it could severely undermine the Sharif government at the center and give the PTI a massive tailwind to win the general elections. So Sharif and his coalition government are bent on thwarting Imran Khan and stopping the provincial polls from happening earlier than the general election. As part of that strategy, the Sharif government has put on the fast track the criminal charges that have been leveled against Imran Khan. PTI spokesperson, or the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf spokesperson, the Khan's party, claims that there are more than 83 cases that have been registered against Khan so far. And these, they say, are an attempt by the government to divert PTI or the party's attention from impending elections and get Khan caught up in running from court to court. But while some cases may be superfluous, there are major ones that have the potential to affect Khan's political fortune and his career. One of these cases that is coming up for hearing this month and has non-bailable arrest warrants relates to his purchase and selling of foreign state gifts known as the Tosha Khana case. Khan is accused of having sold off a Saudi gifted watch and other jewelry worth millions of dollars before officially declaring it. Or he is also accused of purchasing it from state coffers and then lying about it and allegedly attempting a cover-up. Either of these could lead to a disqualification from contesting elections. A far more important case is the one accusing the PTI, Khan's party, of having received funding from prohibited sources, including from foreigners. This includes diverting monies meant for Khan's charitable trusts towards political activity. This case, while still ongoing, has the potential to severely dent or cripple the entire prospects of Khan's party. There is also some resentment within the PDM against the judiciary. The ruling coalition feels that some current judges still hold a soft corner for Khan and go out of their way to bail him out, unlike their far more stricter interpretations of the law against his political rivals, particularly Nawaz Sharif. Now, there are other issues that are there. The tenure of the current Chief Justice of Pakistan comes to an end this September, and the PDM is keen to hold on to power till then, so that its own nominee could be appointed. As important is that the tenure of the current president, who owes allegiance to the PTI, also comes to end around the same time. The PDM, the ruling coalition, would like its nominee to be in place for this very important constitutional post. The third reason for trying to nail Imran and disqualify him is that the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif continues to remain abroad in London on health grounds. But if Nawaz comes back, he will have to serve the remaining 7 years of his sentence in jail. The PMLN desperately needs its most charismatic leader to boost its dwindling political fortunes. But the party will only give the go-ahead for his return, that is Nawaz's return, once it is clear that he will not be arrested and sent to jail upon his arrival back. Now, this can only happen if there is some sort of understanding that is reached with the judiciary on this particular matter. So having Khan face disqualification could help that process as part of a larger political and judicial reconciliation. For all this, the Sharif dispensation has to ensure that it has the full backing of the military, which comes to the fourth big question: what role is the powerful Pakistan army playing and will play to manage the tough political and economic situation? The new chief, General Asim Munir, has so far steadfastly refused to be overtly drawn into the political crisis. But he is unlikely to side with Imran Khan for more than one reason. And there is a bit of alleged history. Apparently, General Asim Munir was appointed the chief of the Inter-Services Intelligence, or ISI, during Khan's tenure as Prime Minister, but surprisingly, he was removed after only 7 months into a 3-year tenure and replaced by General Faiz Hamid. And we all know that General Hamid was later accused of helping Imran with his political engineering. Although no reasons were given for General Munir's removal as ISI chief, it was claimed by some, or alleged by some in Islamabad, that he was removed when he allegedly went to Khan with documentary evidence of the involvement of his wife Bushra Bibi in corruption scandals. General Asim, on his part, has never spoken publicly about any of this or conceded it, but it was an open knowledge that General Asim was not the PTI's preferred candidate to replace General Bajwa as army chief in November last year. And this despite his solid professional credentials and his seniority in the army. The army top brass must be deeply concerned at the daily attacks that Khan has mounted against the establishment. It's the first time in many years that any mainstream politician has been so vocal directly about the army in such detail. But even more worrying for the army is that Imran's brinkmanship seriously inhibits the Sharif government's ability to pull the economy back from the edge of the precipice. The army must be wary of taking overt action against Khan or being seen as running the Sharif government. It doesn't want to take the flak for the tough decisions needed to save the economy, including raising taxes and cutting subsidies. It would also rather that the Prime Minister Sharif move against Khan so that the army appears neutral. Nor is the army likely to take over the reins of the government at this time, given the kind of public resentment over the economic situation, as well as Khan whipping up anti-army feelings. However, the army could help in the new constitutional crisis that is brewing. And this is over the provincial elections for Punjab and KPK, which are supposed to be held within 90 days of the assemblies being dissolved, and the Supreme Court has also ordered it to happen. But having two provincial elections separately from the general election would be an unprecedented phenomenon in Pakistan. The Sharif government is arguing that it would also lead to unfair results, as a census which could potentially redraw constituencies. The results of that would not be known until after the 90-day deadline of the assembly polls is passed. The army seems against early provincial elections. The Defense Ministry has said, given the current security situation in the country, it cannot provide army personnel for election security duty. And the police also has told the Election Commission that given the high level of security threats, it cannot guarantee foolproof security by itself. The next few months will be crucial in determining the outcome of this prolonged political and economic chaos. This is not going to be sorted out easily. This comes to the fifth and final question, which is, how is India viewing these developments in Pakistan, and should it engage with Islamabad in any way? There is clarity among experts on one issue. It is not in India's interest to see Pakistan collapse totally. A destabilized nuclear power like Pakistan, which has a fair share of Islamic radicals, would be a major cause for worry for India, especially if the hardliners come to power. Given the uncertain political situation, it may seem pragmatic to engage with Pakistan only when it is clear who would emerge as the winner in this political slugfest, and that too after the general election in October is held this year. But many experts feel that India should not draw rigid lines, including preventing the Indian team from playing in the Asia Cup cricket that is to be hosted by Pakistan in September. Pakistan has hit back by saying it will not play in the World Cup to be hosted by India in October and November 2023. So on security grounds, India could seek a via media solution where its matches are played in the UAE, as it has happened in the past, for the Asia Cricket Cup. Also, very importantly, with Iran and Saudi Arabia, once implacable foes, agreeing to ease the tension between them under Chinese guidance, it is an important signal for India. As president of G20, India has to exhibit diplomatic skill in ensuring that it finds out strategies to engage with Pakistan, even while it takes care that India's security concerns are not impacted. This is something that the Modi government should seriously consider in the months ahead. There is no doubt that a stable and prosperous Pakistan is good for India rather than a weak and chaotic dispensation. For more details on the crisis in Pakistan, read the latest cover story of India Today on the subject, written by Hassan Zaidi, a noted Pakistani editor who has been a regular contributor to India Today in the past 2 decades. Thank you for listening to this episode of Nothing But the Truth. I look forward to having you with me next week. Nothing but the truth.